What is up, my brothers and sisters, my agents of respect? It's your boy Trey Johnson back with another episode of the No Disrespect But podcast. Before we get started, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Always feel free to comment. Just make sure you keep those comments respectful. Um, so, look, just getting back from a road trip, been all over uh, Houston, Louisiana, pretty much the past couple of days. So, um, really the past week or so. So, look. I had to get this episode to you guys. If I seem a little off, it's because I'm tired. But you know what? I wanted to make sure we got this episode out. Football season is around the corner, starts in 2 days, opened up with um, Baltimore versus Kansas City, who are the defending champions, two-time defending champions, looking for history. So let's get to it. I mean, look, I want to talk about, hey, like I do every year, predictions of the seasons. We go by division. Then we're going to go and pick our playoff teams. Then we're going to go into playoff predictions, Super Bowl champs, all that type of thing. We're going to talk about award predictions, and then we're going to end with, I guess, my bold predictions for the year. So really looking forward to that. Okay. So since the AFC are the defending champions, I want to start, or have that conference has the defending champions. I want to start there. And I started with AFC South, so I'll do all the divisions. And so when thinking about all the teams, went through all the teams, went through their schedules, eyeballed some games, thought about some things that I know from a paper standpoint, who's on the roster, um, away versus home games, time of the year, all of those things come into play in my mind. I won't tell you the specific predictions of game by game, but I will tell you the record for each team that I just came up with, and we'll go from there. And starting with the AFC South, that division consists of the Houston Texans, Indianapolis Colts, Tennessee Titans, and Jacksonville Jaguars. And so going through the schedule, and I'll start with the Texans. Looked at the Texans schedule. I saw 10 wins. I think they were a 9 or 10 win team last year. I can see the same thing happening. That's kind of what I see for them. 10-7 is that record. Colts actually found 9 wins, which is kind of up their alley from last year. Hopefully, Anthony Richardson stays healthy and can finish the whole season. I know they added some pass catchers. And I think Adonai Mitchell from Texas is over there. Obviously, you have Michael Pittman Jr. over there. Um, Fantastic coaching staff. So they were able to do a lot, especially with Anthony Richardson missing most of the season. Gardner Minshew getting an opportunity, stepping up, almost leading into the playoffs. Actually came down to the last game between them and the Texans, which the Texans won on the road, if I'm not mistaken. So looking forward to seeing what the Colts do, but I just don't think they're ready to make that playoff leap quite yet. But I do see 9 wins on the schedule. Um, Titans, look, I only see 4 wins. They could win more, they could win less, but that's just what I see. I just kept going down the schedule, and I'm like, where can I feel confident picking the Titans in these matchups? And there weren't many. And even the 4 that I picked, I wasn't too keen on if that's something that'll happen or not. But with the Titans, obviously Will Levis he's going to be his first full year as a starter, going through the offseason as the starting quarterback. They have Calvin Ridley or they added him this year. Have DeAndre Hopkins, who is recovering from a little bit of an injury. So hopefully not too sure when he'll be ready. They moved on from Derrick Henry, so it's going to be the Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard show in the backfield. But with a new coach, I think they are very much rebuilding. I think this year really is trying to see how can we continue to develop Will Levis. And if he shows something, then you can use that pick, which will likely be a top 5 pick on offensive line, wide receiver, um, you know, edge rusher to keep boosting that defense, whatever it may be. So, but if he isn't good with a record of 4-13, top 5 pick, now you can start looking at starting quarterbacks or potential franchise quarterbacks that you feel like Will Levis didn't show you much this year. I mean, he's a second-round pick. It's not like you have so much invested in him. So, and again, new coach who didn't choose this guy. a lot of things can happen. So that would be interesting to see what happens with the Titans. And then the Jags found 11 wins. Found 11 wins for them. I know they had, I think they won 8 games, or they were at 8-4 or something like that. Um, at one point in time last year, or 8-3, something like that, and then they just tailspin towards the end of the year, missed the playoffs. Um, it was just horrible. I mean, you haven't really seen that much of a choke job by a team that had that much of a chokehold on their division. And I think that's a bitter. I think they left a bitter taste in their mouth, right? And I think Trevor Lawrence got his money. Another year improved in the system. They added some young guys. Drafted Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU. Still have Evan Ingram. Still have Christian Kirk. Still have Travis Etienne in the backfield. And look, if Trevor were to get hurt, which he did get hurt last year, he never really bounced back. I think you have a guy in Mac Jones who can be a serviceable backup for this team. So if Trevor does have to miss some time or is a little iffy and they just need to throw the backup in, Mac Jones is a guy I think with Doug Peterson's tutelage can be really good and work himself to have an opportunity to start in this league again. So that's why I have the Jags with 11 wins. AFC North, toughest division in football. Um, I don't think much changes about that. I think they were able to get 3 teams in last year. I don't know if they're going to do that again, but look, who knows what can happen. But I'll start with the AFC North and the Cleveland Browns. And the Cleveland Browns past couple years have been just ruined by injuries, especially at the quarterback position. You pay a guy, Deshaun Watson, a lot of money to come in. Obviously spent, I think, what the first 6 or 7 weeks, his first season with the team, suspended based on his punishment by the NFL, and came back, was okay, hit or miss. And then his first full offseason has his moments, but it seems when it seems like he's just starting to get his bearings, gets injured. I think they went through 5 different quarterbacks. Were still able to make the playoffs, which was insane in its own right. In its own right, I would have argued that Myles Garrett should have won MVP or at least been at the top of the ballot. Um, just based on what he and that defense were able to do, keep Cleveland in games, and led by Joe Flacco, make it to the postseason, which was crazy. That was not on my bingo card. But Deshaun Watson is a year healthier, another year in the system to get better. You have a Jameis Winston behind him. You have a Dorian Thompson Robinson who is going into his second season, and Cleveland is really high on him at the quarterback position. I think you obviously have Amari Cooper, who's a 24/7, 7-11, always open. You add Jerry Jeudy to that lineup. Nick Chubb's going to be out for a while, and I think that's what's going to hurt them. But just looking at their schedule, just because I think they're one of the better teams in the best division in football, I see 9 wins for them. I see them going 9-8. That's kind of where I have them. Same for the Steelers. Got the Steelers going 9-8, which is crazy, but it just always seems like Coach Tomlin finds a way to be above 500, and I think they do that again. Don't think it equals a playoff berth, which they were able to capitalize on last year. But keep in mind, Joe Burrow missed a lot of time for the Cincinnati Bengals. So I think if Joe Burrow is healthy, the Bengals kind of take that spot, whether it was the Steelers or the Browns. I felt like they kind of benefited from the Bengals not having all of their horses, which leads me to the Cincinnati Bengals, who I have with 11 wins going and finishing the year, and I feel really confident about that. I know they're dealing with Jamar Chase's contract, and they're dealing with T. Higgins' contract situation. But I think Joe Burrow is healthier. I think he's ready to really cement himself into that upper echelon of quarterback. I know we put his name in there a lot, but when you look at the from a statistics standpoint, exactly what he's putting forward, um, I wouldn't say he's such a bona fide top 3 quarterback in the NFL. And I think this is an opportunity for him to stay healthy, grow as a veteran quarterback at this point in his career who just got his money on his second contract deal. And I think it's time for Joe Burrow to take that next leap and start to cement himself as truly a top quarterback in this league and even talking, getting some MVP votes. I think it's time for him to take that next step, and truly be the driver of the bus in Cincinnati, because they're paying him to be so. And the Ravens, last but not least, I actually have them winning 12 games. So, or no, I lied. I lied. I have them winning 15 games. I actually have them only with 2 losses, 15-2. And again, I'm just going on paper. Obviously, it's so hard to win 15 games nowadays, and only have 2 losses. Like, that's extremely difficult. But when I just look at that schedule on paper, I think Lamar's going to have another incredible year, another year with his offensive coordinator, just learning that system, and how to improve Lamar even more as a passer. But I think they're going to try to utilize not just his running ability, but that backfield. If you haven't heard, they do have one name, King Derrick Henry, and he's one of the best running backs in the league. And so when you get to that point late in the season, I think you'll lean on Derrick Henry a lot more to help run that offense, and run that clock and make things easier, not just for Lamar in the run game, but the pass game. We talk a lot about the wide receivers and not having a stud at that position, but maybe being able to lean on a top tier running back like Derrick Henry will help those guys see more one-on-one opportunities and be able to make a play. So I'm really excited to see what they're going to be doing, but that's kind of where I have the Ravens. Let's go over to the AFC West, obviously run by the Chiefs, where I actually have them winning 11 games this year. I think last year was a struggle for them. I mean, yes, it resulted in them winning another championship, going back to back, but it was extremely hard. And I know a lot of people are saying that, hey, they're a favorite to three-peat. And I think there's a reason why no team has ever done it. And when you go through the grind and you lose guys in free agency and things like that, like you lost with Jarius Sneed, who was their best defensive player, or at least best player in the secondary. Yeah, they still have Chris Jones. They have a lot of young guys like McDuffie in that secondary that are looking to step up since Jarius Sneed is no longer there. Obviously, you still have Coach Spagnuolo still running that defense. So I wouldn't say they're going to miss a beat, or they wouldn't miss a beat. I think you're going to see at times they're going to miss L'Jarius Sneed and what he was able to do in terms of taking away half the field. But you got to trust your defense. You try to trust your defensive coordinator. You got to trust your development, because you develop these young guys that are now going to be at the cornerback position, and you got to trust that D line to keep on improving and wreaking havoc on quarterbacks, which makes life easier, right, for your secondary. Um, but I do think it's going to be a little bit of a tough year again, where they're trying to grind out wins against maybe opponents you on paper you say, why the hell are the Chiefs struggling with them? Um, I don't know if they can necessarily have a running game that they can lean on. I think that would help a lot of their problems, but especially without having a true number one receiver, you're hoping Rashid Rice can step up, but he's dealing with his off the field issues, so who knows what's going to happen with his situation. Um, Maybe Xavier Worthy out of Texas, rookie, maybe he steps up. Maybe what Sky Moore, I believe. I don't know if he's still on the team. I think they traded him, but maybe one of these other young guys step up for the Kansas City Chiefs. They did bring Juju Smith-Schuster back, so he's bringing a veteran leadership that they desperately needed in that wide receiver core, and he was able to help them 2 years ago win a championship. I mean, if you look at that game against the Eagles, Juju kind of took that game over and being a target for Patrick Mahomes. But again, I think it's going to be a little tough for them. And again, everybody's looking at them. They're not going to feel like the Chiefs are under the radar. They're going to get every team's best shot. So I got them getting 11 wins. Uh, I also have the Los Angeles Chargers getting 11 wins. Just looking strictly on paper, I was able to find 11 wins for them. Does that mean they're going to win 11? No, they could win. They could win more. They could win less. Um, but that's kind of what I got from them. Them being able to improve under Jim Harbaugh in his first year. I think a good part of this improvement is because I have so much respect for Coach Jim Harbaugh and what he's able to accomplish in terms of rebuilding programs. And I don't think the Chargers were that far off. I just think they had a bad coaching, and obviously Justin Herbert ends up getting hurt, and that affects games as well. But I think you have a coach that's going to help develop the guys around Justin a lot better. That's on both sides of the ball. And I expect a resurgent year for him. I expect Justin Herbert to get some MVP votes this year. And take that next leap. Much like Joe Burrow, I'm saying I want to see him truly put himself there. Like we've been putting his name there, but when you kind of look at the data, it's like, why exactly are we putting him there? Is it because of one playoff run? And are we putting Justin Herbert there just because of a bunch of records? When we know that the records mean nothing if they're not resulting in wins. So he needs to start putting things together and stack up these wins and put the Chargers into um, perennial playoff contender territory because it's about that time. Now we get to the bottom feeders of the AFC West. Um, you got the Chargers. I mean, you got the Broncos. Obviously, they're starting a rookie in Bo Nix. Um, that's who Sean wanted. But I don't know if this experiment is going to go so well. I don't think the roster's very talented, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And I don't think they want to win a lot of ball games this year, just to be quite honest with you. And so I actually have them with 4 wins, and actually have the Vegas Raiders. It's so weird. I'm so used to saying Oakland, but the Vegas Raiders actually have them with even less wins at 3. I just couldn't find the wins on the calendar. Love Gardner Minshew. I actually love Aiden O'Connell as well. And it was just hard for me to find the wins. And I don't think either of those guys are quarterbacks of the future. Part of me almost feels like the Raiders are content with tanking this year. I think Coach Pierce, I think he's been given kind of the green light of, hey, like this year is a development year. We just want to see certain guys grow, but we're going to really start building this team around you in year 2. But we want you to have a chance to establish your culture and identity and see who are the guys that we can bring for the long haul. So that's kind of where I am with the AFC West. And then with the AFC East, uh, got the Bills at 12-5. Miami actually got them winning 11 games this year, being able to secure another playoff spot. Then I have New England, 4 wins. I mean, they're starting Jacoby Brissett over Drake May. I think that's telling you right now they're not expecting to win a lot of football games this year, and I think they're going to get exactly what they're wanting. I don't think they're going to win a lot of football games. I think you're going to see Drake May come in sometime around week 7, week 8, and let him finish out the year. And I think he'll show some flashes. Like if he's in the last 5 games, I can see them going 2-3, 3-2, or something like that. Him playing well, and he say, "Hey, we can build around this guy," type of deal. But with what they're rolling out, with Jacoby Brissett as a starting quarterback, with this roster on both sides of the ball, I think they're telling us the quiet part out loud. So that's just me. And then New York Jets, I think they actually have a vast improvement. You have one of the best quarterbacks in the league, one of the best of all time in Aaron Rodgers. And yeah, I know he's a little long in the tooth, but if he's healthy, I think he can make some things happen this year. Um, Crazy offseason for them, but I think they got better, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Hopefully, they can figure something out with Hassan Reddick because he will really bolster their defense. I'm hoping their offensive line is a little bit better. Brees Hall is healthier, and so hoping they can utilize him a little bit more, take some of that pressure off of Aaron Rodgers to have to make a play. But I do have them with 10 wins this year, and so I'm pretty pumped about that. I think that's a good record for them. I don't know. I mean, the AFC is the hardest conference and the toughest conference. And I can tell you right now, even with that record, I don't have them in the postseason. But that's because I hold the AFC in high regard, and I think you have to have 11 wins. Like if you're not a division champion, I think you're going to have 11 wins to make the playoffs this year. That's just my feeling. And speaking of the playoffs, this is my 7 for the AFC. I have the Ravens as the 1 seed, based on the records I compiled. Ravens as the 1 seed, Bills as the 2 seed, Chiefs as the 3 seed, Jags as the 4 seed, Bengals as the 5 seed, Dolphins as the 6 seed, and Chargers as the 7th seed. So that's kind of my AFC bracket. And we'll get to that in a second. I do want to kind of cover the NFC. And look, NFC, they don't get as much love as the AFC. I think they're a pretty good conference, but when the two-time reigning defending champion is a member of the AFC, you got to give it to them. So maybe the NFC can kind of catch up and get that crown this year. We shall see. I'll start with the NFC South, where I have Tampa Bay actually finishing with 9 wins, so equaling their record a season ago. Um, I mean, they have the toughest record in the division, now having that first place schedule. But when I see teams like, um, Detroit, uh, Baltimore, um, Kansas City, San Francisco, Dallas, even like it gets a little difficult for them. And I know everybody's kind of banking. Like I was watching a podcast with folks from the NFC South, kind of talking, and it's like everybody, Bucks, Saints, uh, Falcons, not so much the Panthers, but at least the three of the four, they're all banking on this late season push to get to the postseason, not really having a lot of confidence in versus some of the tougher teams on the schedule, and just hoping that either team can beat on some of the from a on paper standpoint, middle to lower tier teams in the league. And I think Tampa Bay is going to have some of that where they're beaten some of those lower tier teams. I think there might be times where they lose to one of those lower tier teams. I think there might be an opportunity where they beat some of these top tier teams that we're expecting them to kind of walk in and lay down, and they may win that game. So who knows? But that's kind of where I have them at 9-8 right now. I do have Carolina improving this season, and actually winning 6 games. I think they're going to be able to beat on some of the lower tier teams in some of the other divisions. And I think they may have a couple of wins in the division. Versus who, I have no idea. I just kind of was eyeballing, but I think they'll have a couple division wins, and then the Raiders, the Cardinals, the Commanders, the Giants of the world. I think they can find some wins, and I'm expecting an improvement from Bryce Young in that offense under Coach Dave Canellis. And I'm expecting that defense to still kind of be pretty good. I know Brian Burns is gone and with the New York Giants, but I'm expecting some improvement, something that Carolina fans can leave this year and say, you know what, I see the vision. I think we'll see a vision for Carolina this year. Not a winning season quite yet, but I think they're a couple years away, to be quite honest with you. But I think they'll see some things that make them confident. And look, third place, no surprise, forever little brother, the Atlanta Falcons, 7-10. And look, I didn't say that, or I'm not thinking about them in a level of pettiness. I know it's easy to think that because I'm a Saints fan. But when I think of the Atlanta season in their roster, you have 2 quarterbacks. You have Kirk Cousins, who's coming off an Achilles. And he was playing some of his best football in his career before he got injured. But he also had a very, very, very slow start with the Minnesota Vikings before picking up steam and then unfortunately getting injured. You have a Michael Penix Jr. who has his own injury history, but is, in my opinion, the most pro-ready quarterback of his draft class. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see him very early in the season for the Atlanta Falcons and helping them win some football games. Um, I'm not a big fan of their wide receiver core. Their offensive line, they definitely revamped it, but still a little work to do. You have a guy, well, 2 guys really that aren't necessarily mobile in a sense, but obviously Michael Penix Jr. is a little bit more mobile. He'll go get you 5 or 6 yards if it's there. But Kirk Cousins was never really as mobile, and now with the Achilles injury, will he be a sitting duck back there? Will he have the confidence in his Achilles, in his body, in his preparation, his rehab? Um, I hope so, just from being a fan of the player standpoint, that he feels good in his rehab and he feels 100% confident in his body. But there's a lot of question marks. Then on defense, definitely, you get my boy from New England. You get Justin Simmons. You already kind of had a formidable defensive line, so you add to that. But I'm not a big fan of the linebacking core, and I'm not a big fan of their cornerbacks. I think they're just a weakness there. Hopefully, they can generate a pass rush, which they weren't able to do. And they're hoping Matthew Judon can bring that to them because they did not draft Dallas Turner like most had predicted they would to bolster that pass rush. Um, Obviously, Grady Jarrett wreaking havoc on the interior defensive line. So I think they'll have their moments. I think too they have a kind of crazy schedule where they're going to be playing some really top notch teams, and where I think the Saints schedule is front loaded, and Tampa Bay's schedule is kind of backloaded. Almost is like Atlanta's is right in the middle. Like you have a little here and there in the beginning, and then the middle hits you, and then towards the end, which I think they can run some wins off towards the end of the year. But I can only find 7, and that leaves me with the New Orleans Saints, who I can only find 10, and that was hard to find the 10. I'm gonna be quite honest with y'all. I know some of the fan base are like, man, they might win 7 or less. I don't know about that. I could definitely see this team being an 8 or 9 win team. But I firmly believe that 10 gets you in within this division. Like 10 wins will get you in. And I was able to find 10 wins for the Saints, finishing the year at 10-7. Go up to the North. I'll start with Chicago. They had the number 1 overall pick, got Caleb Williams. So exciting, so exciting that they are the Chicago Bears, and they're not ready yet. I think there's still some work they have to do in the offensive line. Yes, you got a Roma Dunze to pair with um, more, but I think you still need more from a wide receiver standpoint. Have a great tight end in Cole Kmet. Still want to see him improve. I think one of the things they're missing, and look, I love A Bear or Herbert, I think is how you pronounce his last name, but I'm from Louisiana. I'm sorry. Um, they have DeAndre Swift now. I think they're missing. They're a back away, and there's going to be some great backs coming out in 2025 in the draft. And I think if you add one of those premier backs with Caleb, and then you continue to improve the O line and the pass catching, and obviously try to bring some veterans to help on the defensive side of the ball because you have a rookie quarterback on a rookie contract. I think that's when you'll start to see Chicago. I think maybe by year 3 of Caleb's rookie contract. I think is when you really start to see things manifest of what the Chicago Bears really could be long term. I just don't think they're there yet. Um, I have them at 4-13. They're going to be looking for some offensive line, maybe some wide receivers at the top of the draft next year. That's kind of what I see for them. Uh, Minnesota, I could only find 4 wins. And honestly, I probably would have found more if JJ McCarthy was not injured. But with his injury, I think they kind of thought to themselves, you know what? It would be cool to make the playoffs. But I think this year is about how do we put forth an effort to get Sam Darnold paid by some team that's not us so we can get that comp pick. I think that's part of their process this year. I think they have a lot of youth on that defense. They want to see those guys grow. Yeah, obviously you're talking to Justin Jefferson, like, hey, bro, like we paid you a bunch of money. Consider this year a wash. You're going to dominate like you always do, but we're not there yet collectively as a team. And I think they're going to look for opportunities to build around JJ McCarthy, but also utilize this year, especially with JJ being hurt, to try to get um, my guy paid. Like it's time. So um, we'll see what happens with the Sam Darnold sweepstakes and if he can get paid. Something tells me I said Sam Bradford, but I meant Sam Darnold if I did say Sam Bradford. But I feel like they're the same variant of quarterback, so it's not surprising that I would get the two confused. But I digress. Then we kind of get to the meat and potatoes of the division, right? The two teams that will be vying, right, for the division champ. And I'll start with Detroit, who I found 9 wins for them. Look, talking with a fan on the podcast in the comments, and I hope you're watching the show, sir, because we can have a discussion again. Detroit has the top place schedule now. They have that. And You have the Rams opening weekend. I think Arizona with Kyler Murray is formidable. You got Seattle, you got Green Bay, you have Houston, the Jags, you got Buffalo Bills, you got San Francisco. So you have some top-notch teams on your calendar. And so it's going to be the perfect opportunity for Detroit to show not only their fan base, but I think the rest of the world, people like me, the last year was indeed not a fluke. That they have been trending in the right direction, and they expect to be a perennial division champion, a perennial playoff contender, and damn it, a perennial championship contender. That's what Coach Campbell is saying. It is beating the drum, saying that's what we're building. That's what Jared Goff gets re-signed for. That's why a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's why a guy like Jameson Williams is a lot is dependent on him this year, right? You're wanting Jahmyr Gibbs to take that next step as a back. You still want David Montgomery to be that veteran that can help push you in the postseason when you truly need that run game. You need to win football games for you. Continuing to build that defense and bolstering that secondary, which they spent a lot of attention on in the draft and in free agency. We know what they got on the defensive line, so in the linebacking core, which is two of their better units, if not two of the best defensive units. But I got them at 9 wins right now. It could definitely be more. It could definitely be more. They could win some of these marquee matchups against some of the top teams in the league. They could. Honestly, they had to truly get the respect and understand that this is a a sustainable thing, not just a flash in the pan type of thing that we saw last year. But I do have Green Bay winning the division with 10 wins. Like, it's not like it's a bunch of games separating them. I think 10 will get you win, and mainly because this division will kind of cannibalize one another. So it's probably going to fall to being a 10-win team that wins the division as opposed to a 12 or 13-win team. But that's kind of where I'm at. Transfer to the East. I got Dallas 11 wins. Um, I got Philly 12 wins. So another kind of close playoff race. But I think Philly is going to have a few more wins, especially a few more marquee wins in the NFL. And I think they're a better team. That's why I kind of have them having more wins. I have the Giants 3-14. I have no faith in them. I'm just gonna be quite honest with you. You guys know I've been a fan of the Giants during Eli's run. I've kind of washed my hands since they did him wrong. He's been gone. And Daniel Jones has not made it easy to come back into the fold. Yeah, had a great performance in the playoffs a couple years ago against Minnesota. But anybody that truly understood what was going on, we knew that was flash in the pan. That was an anomaly. That is not the consistent Daniel Jones that you'll get. Uh, I don't know. I have no confidence in this team. I got them with 3 wins, and being one of the teams that is vying for the top overall pick, which I think based on record, if I'm not mistaken, it would be them and the Raiders vying for that top pick. So fun time there. And Washington actually have winning a few games this year. I got them at 5-12. Rookie quarterback. I think Jaden Daniels is going to bring a dynamic there. But again, they're the team collectively, the organization collectively isn't there yet. But I believe they will get there. Just not yet. But I have Washington winning 5 games this year. Last but not least, I have the NFC West, which is the best division, in my opinion, on the NFC side of things. Um, got Arizona kind of having a little bit of a bounce back year, but not necessarily a playoff season, winning 8 games, going 8-9. Um, I have the Seattle Seahawks actually winning 7 games this year. And then I have the Rams winning 10, and I have San Francisco winning 12. So really excited about that. And so what that leaves me with when it comes to the NFC seeding, the top 7 teams, San Francisco have it at 12-5, number one. Number 2 seed Philly also at 12-5, but I think San Fran gets the tiebreaker. Green Bay at 10-7, and at number 3, and number 4 New Orleans at 10-7. And I think the tiebreaker I had was Green Bay beating New Orleans in the regular season, and that's how Green Bay got the third seed, and the Saints got the fourth seed. Then I had the fifth seed. I have Dallas, who's 11-6. I had the Los Angeles Rams as the sixth seed at 10-7, and then I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 9-8. And yes, they finished with the same record as Detroit, but I think a tiebreaker was I think they had more NFC wins or something like that than Detroit. And that's what kind of pushed them over the edge. So I actually have the NFC South getting two teams in it. I think pretty much so NFC South, NFC West, and NFC East all get two teams, and the NFC North has one sole champion. And so again, that could be the NFC North getting two wins with Green Bay and Detroit. I think those are going to be two of the teams in that division vying for a spot. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and New Orleans Saints are going to be the two teams in their division vying for a spot. And I think the Rams are kind of safe as that second team in the West. I think they're going to kind of beat on some of the other NFC teams and own a bunch of tiebreakers. So that's that's my seven for the NFC, and you heard my seven for the AFC. And just to remind everybody, my seven for the AFC are as it stands: Ravens, Bills, Chargers, Chiefs, Dolphins, Jags, Bengals. Now, obviously, we know in the playoffs, the one seed is off the first round. And we're going to start with the AFC. From the first round of the playoffs in the AFC, I have number two Bills versus number seven Chargers, number three Chiefs. Let me see. Yeah, number three Chiefs versus number six Dolphins. I have number four Jags versus number five Bengals. I'll take the Bills over the Chargers. I'll take the Bengals over the Jags. And I'll take the Chiefs over the Dolphins. Which will have a matchup of Baltimore versus Cincinnati in the semis or in the divisional, and Bills versus Chiefs in the divisional. Now, here's where it gets dicey, and my first bold prediction of the year. One of my bold predictions is not that the Chiefs won't three-peat, it's that the Chiefs will not make it to a conference championship. Do you guys know how insane that is? If I'm not mistaken, Patrick Mahomes has been in the AFC Championship game every year of his career, if I'm not mistaken. So anybody listening, please in the comments fact check me on that. But I'm pretty certain that every year of Patrick Mahomes' career, he's at least been in the AFC Championship game. This year will be the first time he does not make that, if that fact is true. And I have the Baltimore Ravens beating the Cincinnati Bengals. So you have a Baltimore Buffalo AFC Championship game, which I have the Ravens winning at home. Lamar Jackson going to his first Super Bowl. Okay. NFC. Remember, San Fran's 1 seed, Philly's the 2, Green Bay's the 3, New Orleans is the 4, Dallas is the 5, Rams are the 6, Buccaneers are the 7th seed. So that sets up our wild card like this. Number 2 seed Philly versus number 7 seed Tampa. 3 seed Green Bay versus 6 seed LA Rams. 4 seed New Orleans versus 5 seed Dallas. I have Philly beating the Bucks, Green Bay beating the Rams, and I have the Saints at home winning their first playoff game in a long time since Drew Brees up. Okay. That sets up in the divisionals for the NFC. San Francisco versus New Orleans and Philly versus Green Bay. I have the 49ers over New Orleans. Look, I love my Saints. But I got to be honest when I'm doing picks like this. I would love for them to win that matchup, but I just think San Francisco has the better roster. They're battle tested at this time of year, whereas the Saints are kind of having a younger team. They're led by a quarterback who doesn't have much playoff experience, being Derek Carr. And honestly, in my honest opinion, which I'll get to my second bold prediction, I don't think Derek Carr is the starting quarterback for this Saints playoff run. I believe Spencer Rattler is. I believe Spencer Rattler is inserted into the lineup. I I'm going to say the Denver game. That's my bold prediction. The Saints game versus the Denver Broncos. Sean Payton's return to New Orleans. That will be Spencer Rattler's first start. That's what I'm guessing. That will be Spencer Rattler's first start in a Saints uniform. And I think he's going to be the quarterback that is the catalyst to the Saints making the playoffs. Sorry, Saints fans who want Dennis Allen fired, but if he's the coach and they make the playoffs, he's getting extended. And I think that's a good thing because it shows that there's been a level of improvement. 7 wins first year, 9 wins second year, drafted a quarterback that a lot of people were high on, that you were high on, and that guy leads you to the postseason. He's going to get an extension. Everybody's getting some new money. I'll put it that way. Then I have Green Bay in the upset over Philly. I love Jalen Hurts. Look, it's the Philly Crimson Tide. Like they got all like it's the Philly Crimson Tide Bulldogs. Like they got Alabama and Georgia players. Like it's insane. It's like they don't recruit any fucking where else but Alabama and Georgia. And as an Alabama fan, y'all know it pisses me off that that my guys have to play for those guys. But my guys are doing great for those guys, which is bittersweet. And I'm happy with the success that they have as players and things like that. But it's just something about that Jordan Love kid, man. Like, I feel like he has it. And it might be about his time to be that next Green Bay Packer great quarterback. I think it might be about his time. And so I have them in an upset over Philly, which I have San Francisco versus Green Bay. And I have Green Bay in back-to-back upsets, upsetting the San Francisco 49ers on the road. If you recall, Green Bay had San Francisco on the ropes last year and let them off the hook. I don't think that happens again this year. They got better in the run game, added Josh Jacobs. Their young receiving core is another year older. I think their defense is going to be outstanding. And I think that young quarterback, Jordan Love, is going to take the next leap. I think we're going to be having some top 5 conversations about Jordan Love by the time the season is over. And then you have the Baltimore Ravens and the Green Bay Packers. And by God, hopefully third time is the goddamn charm. Because I'm going with Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. It has to happen. The guy is too damn talented. His career from an individual standpoint has been too damn good. It's time to win a championship. It's time. You have the defense. I know you lost your defensive coordinator, but I feel like you still have the defense. Your wide receiver core is another year older. Hopefully, Mark Andrews is a lot healthier. Isaiah Likely being a more focal point in the offense. Hopefully, they've improved the offensive line. You have freaking Derrick Henry. You can truly ground and pound. It's time. Like it's getting to the point where it's one of those now or nevers. Like it's one of those now or nevers for Lamar. And honestly, for Coach John Harbaugh. I mean, at some point, it's going to be this guy can't get us over. He's the head guy in charge, and they're not going to move off of Lamar Jackson. So they have to move off the coach and bring somebody in that can help innovate something. Much like John once upon a time was that guy that came in. So we'll see. But I have the Ravens winning the Super Bowl. Third time's the charm. Third time's the charm. Now for awards. MVP, I got Lamar Jackson going back to back. I think he's going to be on the tear this year. Josh Allen is a good bet, I believe. I think Christian McCaffrey is a good bet. I think Tyreek Hill is a good bet. I really think there's a possibility that a non-quarterback wins this award. But shit, I'll go with Lamar again, back-to-back MVP, but this time sealing the deal with a championship. Offensive Rookie of the Year. I initially wrote down Caleb Williams. I'm going to scratch that. I think it's going to be a non-quarterback. It's we can't keep giving it to quarterbacks. It has to be a non-quarterback. I'm almost making this pick out of defiance. I'm going to surprise you. Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's who I'm going to go with. Wide receiver out of LSU. I'm going to go with a wide receiver. And I mean, they're not so much different from quarterback, right? If it's not a quarterback, it's a wide receiver. But something, because Marvin Harrison Jr.'s name was rolling around my head, Malik Neighbors. I said, you know what? This guy, Brian Thomas Jr., is going to get a hell of a lot of targets. He's going to have a hell of a lot of opportunities to make some big plays in the passing game. Has one of the best play callers in the game. That's who I'm going with, Brian Thomas Jr. Leaves the rookie of the year. I'm going with my boy from Bama, Dallas Turner, playing for the Minnesota Vikings. I think he'll have some opportunities. I think he'll rack up some sacks, some forced fumbles. They won't be a winning team, but I think he'll put forth a great effort. So that's who I have as defensive rookie of the year. Offensive player of the year, Jamar Chase. Guy trying to get his contract, his money. Uh, one of the reasons why one would say you can't get what Justin Jefferson got is because Justin Jefferson got himself an Offensive Player of the Year award. I think Jamar Chase is coming for that. And here's another another bold prediction. Jamar Chase wins the Triple Crown. Okay? Jamar Chase wins the Triple Crown. Receptions, yards, touchdowns for wide receivers. Jamar Chase is winning that shit en route to an Offensive Player of the Year, and you're going to pay the man his freaking money. And he's going to end up surpassing Justin Jefferson at that point. Defensive Player of the Year, T.J. Watt. He can stay healthy. Not too many people that can stop the young man. He's a tear. Crazy. He's going to keep Pittsburgh in some games. He's going to help win them some games. Think he gets Defensive Player of the Year. And Coach of the Year, if Lamar Jackson wins MVP and wins 15 games, don't you think the coach should be to get some type of award for that too? And so in my mind, I think Coach John Harbaugh wins Coach of the Year. A lot of times they give it to a guy who faced a little bit more adversity, I should say. Excuse me. Took a team that nobody expected to win and they win. It's not always given to the best coach on the best team. But I think John's going to get his. And unfortunately, we may have a situation like the Toronto Raptors a few years ago, where their coach, Dwayne Casey, won Coach of the Year, but was fired. So the same thing happened to John, which would be embarrassing and kind of weird, but that's what I'm going with as Coach of the Year. Sped through that a little bit, or as best as I could. I'm excited. Y'all should be excited. I mean, NFL season is here. Um, I think there's going to be some teams, like teams that I didn't mention, probably teams that I had losing a lot of games. They can be some of our biggest surprises. It happens every freaking year. And so I'm excited. I'm excited to be held accountable for my predictions. I'm excited for that Detroit fan I was talking about to say, hey, motherfucker, we won 13 games. Told you we were for real. Oh, the Saints missed the playoffs. I told you y'all wasn't going to do anything, and we made it. Falcons, hell, prove me wrong. I ain't gonna like it, but prove me wrong. Win a division, make it to a Super Bowl in New Orleans by do it if you can. I don't think you can. Carolina, I got you with 6 wins. You want to step up to the plate, win some more? How about Seattle, Arizona, Kyler Murray? You want to win an MVP? You want to show us why Arizona paid you all that money? What about Cleveland? Deshaun Watson, they paid you a lot of money. It's time to step up. What about the Texans? Like, were they a fluke? I have them missing the playoffs currently. In a 10-win season, have them missing the playoffs. Will they say, yeah, F that, we getting in? What about the Bears and the Vikings? Like, we're not expecting much from the Bears, and we're not expecting a damn thing from the Vikings. They weren't expecting anything before J.J. McCarthy got hurt, right? Like, how do they feel? Like, hey, we got Aaron Jones, we got Justin Jefferson, we got T.J. Hawkinson when he gets healthy. We got a defense coached by Coach Flores that's flying all around the field. We got Sam Darnold. He's out a Hall of Famer, but damn it, he can play the quarterback position in our system and do it well enough to win us some games. Games that, Trey, you are picking us to lose. Screw you. What about Pittsburgh? Russell Wilson, Sierra's husband. Is it the beginning of the end? Are you ready? Are you ready to step up? Because man, they've been talking down on your name. And I ain't talking about future lyrics, brother. What's gonna happen? We gonna step up. We gonna lead Pittsburgh back to the playoffs. You know, Mason Rudolph got Pittsburgh to the playoffs. Uh, Mason Rudolph got Pittsburgh to the playoffs. They let him go to Tennessee. If you can't make the playoffs, that's a bad look. Justin Fields, this is an opportunity for you to. I'm looking forward to be proven wrong. Of course, I want to be proven right. Hell, talking about proven wrong, I got the Saints winning their first playoff game, losing the second. I would love my own team to prove me wrong and be like, hey, motherfucker, we got to win the championship. We're going to be same way Tampa won in their home. We're going to win in ours. We're going to win. We're going to tie it up at 2 rings. Like, prove me wrong. This is what this is all about. Predictions aren't to be proven right. It's to be proven wrong. Held accountable for your actions to see if you're really a man or a woman in this world. You can stand up. I'm ready to stand up, damn it. Hold me accountable. Bookmark my tweets. Listen to this video. Take notes so you can come back in a few months and say, Trey, can we have a conversation, sir? Because you said some things. You said some things on September 3rd, sir. You gotta, you gotta atone for that now. Look, I'm excited. This is gonna be good. Because guess what? If y'all don't hold me accountable, damn, I'll tell you, I'm holding y'all accountable. I already got my bookmarks in check. It's gonna be a fun season for me. So enjoy the season. It's coming up in a couple of days. We waited so long. February to now is so long. Yeah, we had the preseason, but it ain't the same. Like Aaron Rodgers said, they on real games. We're getting the real games. Playing in Brazil for crying out loud on a Friday. The NFL game on a Friday. That's how you know the NFL loves us, right? They're giving us Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. And honestly, if they wanted to shit on college football, they could give us Saturday too. But they are so nice, right? They're not bullies at all. They're not taking over college game in the NBA or anything like that. They're so nice, so thoughtful. Anyway, good luck to a fantastic season to all 32 teams. Yes, that includes you to the Falcons. But I'm wishing for every team to have as much of a healthy roster as they possibly can. Please, no significant injuries. I want everybody to be good. I know these men, they do this for a living. They do this to take care of their family. And I hope they're able to continue to do that and not have to be on the IR and losing paychecks and all that type of stuff. So we're praying for help. We're praying for good football. We're praying for no controversies or anything like that. And praying for a fantastic season that I think is going to be exciting for all 32 fan bases. I think all 32 fan bases have at least one thing they can be excited about. And that's what the NFL and what being an NFL fan is all about. That being said, if there's anything I said that offended you, that's a good thing. It's an opportunity for me to learn. It's an opportunity for you to teach me. All I ask is that you keep it respectful. Peace.